to just continue to find revenue or savings, because a lot of times in the past it was just a savings opportunity for supply chain, but revenue has entered into the equation because of this elevation to the CFO. That's a major innovator, though, because the people that are on your team are not used to necessarily looking for that, especially if they're in an analytics position. How does that kind of increase the stress, as well as just figuring out how you're going to train people up to look at this new world that's evolving?
Well, and I think it's important to, as much as we don't like to say this in healthcare, we are a business. So we can't be in a business of not being profitable. Yeah. So we do have to look at everything that is coming through the door, understand, is this an added cost? Is it strictly, something that may improve patient satisfaction, but it's going to lower overall our reimbursement because it's increasing the cost of the case? Diving into those questions and reviewing those questions and having everybody understand that we have to look at that is important. And it's hard because sometimes people, their gut reaction, and I've had clinicians say this, we're just trying to take care of the patient. Right. And it's not that that's lost on supply chain, but
no money, no mission.
Right. And we're the second line item on the P&L right behind staffing. So we can't not look at it because it's too easy for it to get out of control. And I think that's the part that causes as well a lot of the burnout. Again, we're kind of the people that say no a lot, and or maybe not no, but wait. Like, I just need you to wait. Give me a minute. Let me look at this. And even when it comes to like capital, I, got a very nice, professional text saying, this isn't that much money. Why can't I have it? And it's like, because it's $4,995, which is above my capital threshold. So
right.
I'm not saying you can't have it, but we have to follow a process.
Yeah, it's a new process.
And I think, right. And that's sadly, it's not new, but, and then it was,
but it might be new for the clinician. They might be new in their position as a leader, right. Having just been promoted. They might not be aware of those things. Right. And they're just trying to survive under the same pressures, but they might be clinical pressures.
Right.
I kind of wanted to ask you this question in closing, which is like, what are some great ways for supply chain leaders to reduce stress or be able to manage that to prevent burnout? And I am certain, and it comes on the heels of the point you were just making, is relationships with the clinicians and the department leaders, I am certain can contribute to managing that burnout. Like, the more collaborative and strong the relationships are with those folks that you support, it's probably a lot less educating and re-educating. It's likely less stress from the standpoint of all complaints run through supply chain. Then they become challenges that you solve together instead of your problem that's being delivered to you.
Right. Well, and I think, wine is extremely important. No, I'm just kidding. To reduce stress.
Right.
No, I think it's the consistent communication. And I literally, my favorite quote, and it's on my wall, it's behind me, it's in my email, is, a no uttered from the deepest conviction is better than a yes merely uttered to please, or worse, to avoid trouble. And that was Gandhi. And I believe in that wholeheartedly, because when we say a yes just to give in, it's going to come back to haunt us. So I think the most important thing that we can do is be consistent, just like with the toddler,
be comfortable with conflict.
We have to be consistent.
And be comfortable with conflict and have some good conflict resolving strategies and skills. So, I mean, if you're out there watching this episode and you're uncertain about how you manage conflict, there are definitely some great resources on the internet. Reach out to your peers and see how they do it in the actual context of healthcare. But to your point, if you make a bad decision because you're not willing to deal with the conflict internally, I think sometimes people, because they're on the provider side, have no problems having conflict with vendors, but then say yes to everybody who works within their organization. And to your point about being the middleman, you have to be able to say no to everybody, and you have to be able to manage that conflict without losing the relationship. it's an essential soft skill.
Yeah. And I think that the other thing is, and it's hard, I'm not going to say that it isn't, but we can't take what we do personally. I am not personally saying no to somebody. And I think that is probably the best work-life balance that I've really taken in the last 2 years, is to try not to take it home with me, try not to take it. And even if I can feel that somebody's upset, that they're upset at Susie, the market director, they're not upset at Susie Collins, the person.
Right.
And I think that is really important when
And they
we
might
do
be
talk
upset
about
with the
burnout.
process.
I think it
might be something
right.
that's completely out of your hands. It's just, this is not a decision. Like, you feel like I'm giving you this decision, which is a no, but it's actually not my decision. It's our policy.
Right.
And I'm just educating you on why it's a no. And to your point about the PO process, or if you're looking at accessing the capital budget, it's not a no because I just feel like saying no, or it's my opinion. This is literally our process. I can't say yes right now.
Correct.
And a lot of times it's timelines too, right? Like you said, just wait, but I want to reemphasize that, because even with that, accessing the capital budget, I'm not saying no. I'm just saying no, not tomorrow. I'm saying we have to execute this process so it can still be a yes. Can you spin that around in a way and say, here's how I can be a resource to you to help you get a yes? I'm not guaranteeing a yes. I'm not even saying I'm personally invested in a yes, but here are all the things that you can do to position yourself in the best way for a yes.
Yep. And Melanie and I talked about that on First Case, right? We talked about having a good story, being able to tell the right story, understanding your numbers, understanding the cases, the revenue, getting those CPT code reimbursement. If I try to encourage them to get all the right information, because it may make perfect sense, but if you're not telling the right story, then
you may not get the message across. Yeah.
And that's not my story to tell. That's the other hard thing sometimes, is it really isn't my story to tell if we're thinking about a new service line or thinking about, buying a piece of equipment for a procedure. It's not mine, but I can help. But it's understanding that, like you said earlier, it's following the process. And that's what I'm accountable for, is following the process.
Yeah. And you can be a resource to anybody. What did we miss in this burnout amongst the leadership conversation? Anything else that needs to be said?
Doing things for some self-care. And I know self-care is another big buzzword right now, but I think the self-care is really important for leaders, and acknowledging that what we do every day is stressful, and acknowledging that there's going to be days that exasperate you, and how to just let that go when you step out of your office and you go home. And I think that's one of the things that I want to, remind people of when we talk about burnout, is try not to get to that point, right? What can we do to try to avoid getting to burnout? And I think, there's self-care, there's, meditation, like light meditation that you can do during the day. We just had somebody speak at our local ARM meeting. So just being cognizant of that we all need that.
I couldn't agree more, that self-care. And honestly, if you're not in a supply chain role, I don't care where you're working in healthcare right now. That's great advice for us all. And even if you're working outside of healthcare, if you have a stressful job, if you have responsibilities, that are higher level responsibilities, ultimately you are likely going to need great self-care to be resilient for your team. Susie, another great conversation. If you're watching this on YouTube, make sure that you check out everything on LinkedIn. These videos, little snippets go out on Facebook as well as LinkedIn. Susie has a great TikTok page. We want you to connect with us. So send us a connection request on LinkedIn, TikTok, etc. Just look us up.
Absolutely.
Would be great to have you on board, everybody. And comments. If you're seeing this post on LinkedIn and on YouTube or Facebook, we definitely want comments. And if it was something that really helped you, make sure that you share it out with your network as well. And until next time, Susie, thanks a lot for talking about leadership with me today.
You're so welcome. You take care, Justin.